our mother or father who we've forgotten, and the extent to which they are the creator and they do everything. So this week's talk, the Siddhs continue to ask Guru Nanak Dev Ji questions, and they ask Guru Nanak Dev Ji questions about WhyGuru's power and the extent of their infiniteness, and if any limit can be placed on their infiniteness. So, like I said, at the start of this body, the Siddhs ask Guru Nanak Dev Ji about those who praise WhyGuru. How do they praise WhyGuru? Is there any limit on how you can praise WhyGuru, the different methods? Those praisers who then praise WhyGuru, are they then able to obtain the limit of WhyGuru? So by praising WhyGuru, by being a praiser, are you able to obtain that limit and put a limit on WhyGuru's infiniteness? And Maharaj responds, Ant na sipati kahana na ant. So if we break it down in two, so the first half, Ant na sipati. So sipata comes from the word praise. And Maharaj is saying, Ant na sipati. So Ant means limit, and then na means not or no. So you can't place any limit on WhyGuru's praise. There's no limit to the types of praises you can do either. And there's no limit to the words which you can use as well. And then Maharaj continues, Kahana na anta. So kahana means to utter or to say, and then na anta. So again, there's no limit on the praises or the way you can say the praises of WhyGuru. There's no limit to those people who praise WhyGuru either. There's an infinite number of praises, and there's an infinite number of ways that you can praise WhyGuru, and an infinite number of people who sing and recite those praises. And a Pangti in Guru Granth Sahib Ji is Ustat karhe anek jan antana paravar. So Ustat karhe anek jan, many sing the praises of WhyGuru. Ustat is another word for praise, antana paravar, but no one can describe the infiniteness of WhyGuru. And just taking that a little bit further, so Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, last week those who attended the Barsi of Parchar Singh Ji on the Thursday, you will notice, I think since their Barsis have been happening, we will recite, or Ustad Jimpal Singh Ji will recite Akal Ustad. And in that Bani is from Sri Dasam Granth Sahib Ji that Guru Gobind Singh Ji has compiled Akal Ustad. And Akal means timeless, and Ustad again means praise. So essentially, this Bani has been compiled by Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji with just descriptions and so much Ustad, so much praise of Akal Purkh WhyGuru. So within that Bani, Guru Gobind Singh Ji describes and praises WhyGuru due to their characteristics and how WhyGuru works. So line by line, Pangti by Pangti, word by word, Guru Gobind Singh Ji is going through the depths of WhyGuru Ji's power and praising their infiniteness. And at one point in this Bani, you can listen back to it on the live stream as well, Guru Gobind Singh Ji says, Tu hi, 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 tu hi. So they say tu hi, the word 16 times. They repeat it 16 times. And each time they repeat the word tu hi, it has a different meaning each time. Different way of praising WhyGuru. Each 16 times that they say tu hi, there's a different praise that is given, such showing, illustrating the infiniteness of WhyGuru and the infiniteness of their praise. But the praisers or people who praise WhyGuru isn't just limited to Gursikhs and people within Sikhi Dharam. Even atheists, if they go on the walk or the hike to Seven Sisters, even an atheist or someone who doesn't believe in God will say, wow, look at this creation. They'll unknowingly, they'll be still praising God as well, because who else could have created such a wondrous creation? And people from different dharams, that's why Maharaj is saying, they might use different words or different ways to praise WhyGuru, but the praise is still infiniteness and you can't put any limit on it. So how do we praise? What is the way that we praise WhyGuru? So Bhagat Kabir Ji writes in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Tu Kabir, tu karta, tu hua, mujh meh raha nahu. So first, Kabir, tu karta, tu hua. So Bhagat Kabir ji is saying, WhyGuru, tu karta. By saying your name, by singing your praises, tu hua, I became you. Muj mein raha na hu. So muj mein raha na hu means that sense of I or hankar, that ego. Bhagat Kabir ji is saying, by reciting your name, by singing your praises, I became you. There was no difference between you and I. I lost that sense of that ego, that sense of me. And they continue to say, Jab apa padka mit gaya, jat dekho tat tu. So Bhagat Kabir ji is saying, when I recited your name, when I sung your praises, then all I could see was your creation. And I saw, obviously, it's hard for us to put ourselves in that lens, or maybe for all of us to connect to that. But when you reach that avastha, when you reach that spiritual level, you see WhyGuru, you see Brahm, you see the Lord in everything, every creation, every part of Maharaj's creation. And the key thing is to also remember, I think I said it in my talk a few weeks ago, so here Bhagat Kabir ji, they have experienced that Brahmgyan, they've experienced the One, and they see the One in everything. And Maharaj can bless us with anything they want as well, but the key is singing the praises, reciting the praises out of nishkam, with no desire other than the desire to join and connect back with WhyGuru. No desire for materialistic things, or new gaddi or whatever. The key, like Bhagat Kabir ji here, to get that spiritual level where all you see is WhyGuru, is reciting the name with no desire. And then Maharaj continues, Anta na karna, dena na anta. But actually, just to summarize, so that first pankti, because obviously we said a lot there, just to summarize, there's no limit to the praises of WhyGuru, there's no limit on how to praise WhyGuru, and there's no limit to the words that can be used to praise WhyGuru. And then the next pankti, Anta na karna, dena na anta. So again, splitting it in two, Anta na karna. So karna means, from the word simple Punjabi, what you do, karta. So Maharaj's actions, anta na karna. There's no limit. You can't place any limits on WhyGuruji's actions, what they do. As people often say, it's more of a Gora term, but it applies here as well. God works in mysterious ways. What Maharaj does, sometimes we might not be able to rationalize it. If God wants to cause natural disasters, then that's what will happen. If Maharaj, on the other hand, if they want to bless us with materialistic goods and Range Rovers, then that's their kushi as well. But we can't put a limit to what Maharaj does. And then the next pankti, this explains it further as well. So the pankti in Gurbani, Maharaj says, Jalate thal kara thalate kuwa kupate mer karava. So Maharaj, they can turn water into a desert. They can then turn the desert into a well, and then a well into a mountain. So this pankti just again illustrating that Maharaj can do what he wants. He doesn't answer to anyone either, and there's no limit you can put on what they do. Antana karna, they can do whatever they please. But there's another arth we can do for karna. So you'll notice that the English word here, instead of actions, I've put blessings. So another way you can translate it is that there's no anta, there's no limit to WhyGuruji's blessings. So I don't know if you guys remember, but Bhai Gobind Singh done a talk however many weeks ago talking about gratitude and what Maharaj gives us and how their gifts have no end. So I think he took it to the extent of the food you're given, then the plate the food is on, then the cutlery, and then the teeth you use to bite your food. But the point was that the blessings have no end, and it's the same concept here as well. Maharaj's kirpa, there's no limit to those either. And another word you can actually use, if blessings doesn't work, you can use treasure. And I like this one as well, because the analogy was given that if you look at worldly kings, they have a treasure, they might have a khajana. But the more they give, the less they have. But Maharaj, on the other hand, they can give as much as they want, antana karna, but their treasure never ends. That khajana never ends. But a king, on the other hand, like you look at Charles, he's asking for more and more. If anyone saw, he's increased the taxes, so he gets even more khajana and even more treasures. But Maharaj is so beyond, they're so above that, and they give and give and they give without asking for anything in return. Appam mangade, Maharaj gives, and we get tired just taking, like we heard in earlier Pangati. And then Den na ant. So Den means to give or gifts, and then na ant. There's no end, there's no limit to Maharaj's gifts either. So I used Bhai Gurcharan Singh's example of a spoon, fork, water, etc. But if we just think about it, Maharaj's gifts, what they give us, is so limitless as well. There's so much for us to be grateful for, even though I'm joking there a little bit about Gurcharan Singh's examples. But Maharaj has blessed us with Sikhi Didat. They've blessed us with the opportunity to take Amrit. They've blessed us with Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji being here. The Jot, the manifestation of Guru is here in this world with us right now. The care that we can do, we've got the opportunity to work, we've got the opportunity to do daan, charitable actions. All we daat ditta Maharaj ne. Gurmukh Naam daan isnan. We've got the daat of being able to recite Naam. The Naam that's come from the Akash, been given directly by Akal Purkh WhyGuru. We've been gifted that as well. Gifted the opportunity to visit Tirths, visit pilgrimages, and wash away our sins and cut ourselves away from the 8.4 million life cycles. What has Maharaj not given us? Dena na ant, their gifts have no end also. And then antana vekhana, sona na ant. So again, split it, antana vekhana. Vekhan means to see, and then antana. There's no limit to seeing WhyGuru either. And there's a couple arths we're going to do here. So first, even if you blessed enough to see WhyGuru, the person who gets darshan of WhyGuru, the seer, he still can't put a limit on WhyGuru. He can't put a limit on WhyGuru's form. And if he does try, if someone tries to put a limit on WhyGuru's form, or the anta ho janda, he will reach his end, but he'll never be able to find Maharaj's end. He might try his whole life trying to find an ant of Maharaj, but all the anta ho janda, he reaches his end before he even has a chance to conceptualize or put into words or put a limit on WhyGuru. Another arth we can do quite simply is there's no limit to the things we can see. So like we said, Maharaj's creation is so vast. How many lifetimes would it take us to even visit every country, every corner of each city, going around the globe? Or things like Netflix shows. You might think you've seen all of Netflix, but then new shows come out. There's no limit to anything. There's no limit to what we can see in this world. And then Sonan Na'ant, there's no limit either to the things we can listen to. There's no limit on listening to WhyGuru's name. Also, if I listen, I don't, maybe one day I will, if I listen to Gurbani 24/7, that doesn't mean that I'll then be able to put a limit on WhyGuru. Sonan Na'anta, even by listening, you can't place limits on WhyGuru. And then Antana Japa Kya Man Mant. So we'll start at the end here. So Mant means motives. I think it's cut out a little bit, but Mant means motives or decisions, or like we'll say in Punjabi, Salah. So what Maharaj does, his decisions or the motives, we cannot put a limit on and we cannot know. What Maharaj does, their motives or decisions, we can't put a limit on and we can't know why they do what they do. Like we said earlier, Maharaj's motives or what Maharaj decides to do, we don't know. We can't rationalize everything Maharaj does. But we don't need to know either. This is what Maharaj is giving the teaching to the Siddhs as well, but it's also important for us to know that we don't need to be able to rationalize or tell why Maharaj does what they want. Is Maharaj's kid, Maharaj can do whatever they want. They don't answer to no one. They don't need permission from anyone when they're creating or destroying, when they're giving life or taking life. They don't ask someone before doing it. They don't need permission. They can do what they want. But the key is we don't need to know either. What we need to know is Prema Bhakti. We're here for Prema Bhakti. We're here to recite the name of God, to sing the praises of God, do seva. That's all we need to know. And then Antana Japa Kita Akar. So Japa in this whole body is going to mean to know or to find out. And Maharaj is saying, similar to I think my last talk a few weeks ago, is that you can't put a limit, or the limit cannot be known to Maharaj's creation either, or how he created creation. Like we had that whole body a few weeks ago. Same point Maharaj is telling the Siddhs here. You can't put a limit on Maharaj's creation, and you can't know everything that the Creator has created. So for example, some things in Maharaj's creation can be made out of 5 elements. Some maybe are made out of 4 elements. Some out of 3, some out of 2. So there's no consistent, you can say, Maryada, because Maharaj can do what they want. They're above the rules, so to speak. So, Antana Jape Ki Takar, you can't put a limit on WhyGuruji's creation or the Creator. And then Antana Japa Paravar. Oh, before I go on to the second pankti, sorry, we can take this a bit further as well by separating the word Akar. So we've got here A, Ka, and then Ru. So A refers to Vishnu, Ka refers to Brahma, and then Ru refers to Shivji. So if we've probably heard from the pankti, the Paudiya before, but I'll remind you. So Vishnu refers to the Shakti of organizing. Brahma refers to the creative force, the force or the force that was given the boon of creation. And then Shivji is referred to as the destroyer, or the power that has, or he was given the power of delivering. And here Maharaj is saying, you can take this another arth, that Maharaj is saying, so the forms of Vishnu, Brahma and Shivji, they can't find an end either to Maharaj's creation, and they aren't able to understand how WhyGuru created all their forms. So to summarize, there's no limit to finding out how WhyGuru created the creation, and there's no limits to the Creator. And then Antana Japa Paravar. So we can't know the limit, Paravar. So Para means next world, and Var means this world. So we can't know the limits, we can't find WhyGuru's limit in this world or the next world. And you might think, why is that the case then? Well, because there's no limit to WhyGuru, there's no limit to God. So, and God is infinite. So for that reason, we can't place any limits on WhyGuru in this world or the next world. They are infinite, so they're beyond any limit or any limits that the Siddhs want to try place on WhyGuru to understand WhyGuru. Maharaj continues, Antakarana kete billahe. So billahe means to suffer, or in simple Punjabi terms, you might say, O talle marda. You're trying really hard. And this pankti Maharaj is saying that many have tried with great effort to put a limit on WhyGuru, but they've only suffered billahi. And why have they suffered? So the example we've talked many times in the course is, so like the yogis, the Siddhs, they tried their different meditative techniques. They did Kasht Yoga, they did really hard penance, because they thought that was the way to obtain God, get Brahm Gyan, to join one with WhyGuru. So that's a way of suffering. But even then, they weren't able to put limits on WhyGuru. They weren't able to obtain WhyGuru. In the same way, even in the modern day, in modern history, people have tried all different things. They've tried to dig into the inner cores of the earth to try finding out more. Scientists have tried to find out more. People have visited space to try put a limit on WhyGuru's creation and find out about space and what that entails and what that consists of. But we're not able to place any limits on WhyGuru and their creation. So you might try really hard, but you'll only suffer, even in the different techniques you'll do, because whatever techniques you do, you won't be able to obtain WhyGuru or find out or place any limits on them. And then ta ke ant na paaye jahe. So ta ke we put together and it just becomes this, and then ant na paaye jahe. So even though you might try those different things, you're still not able to obtain the limits of WhyGuru. No one is able to find a limit on God or be able to obtain WhyGuru's limits. Maharaj continues, Eho ant na jana koe. So Eho ant, this limit, na jana koe, no one knows. No one is able to place, so koe can mean one or just refer to an individual. No individual is able to find a limit or find Maharaj's end. And we hear in Mool Mantra, WhyGuru is Aad Sach, Jugad Sach, Hai Pi Sach, Nanak Hosi Pi Sach. WhyGuru is truth from the beginning to the end, throughout all the ages. Now WhyGuru is always the truth. And we know that anything that is not truth, anything that is temporary or isn't permanent, that is false. But because WhyGuru Ji is true throughout all the ages, that is why they are infinite, and we're not able to place any limit on them, and no individual is able to place a limit on WhyGuru. But then the Siddhs ask, they say, if we say that we understand now what you're saying, that God is amazing, God is great, and it's hard to put a limit on them and what they can do, but if we praise WhyGuru, if we say God is great, He is the greatest, He is greater than the greatest, are we then able to gain that lens? Are we able to gain that avastha where we can then obtain WhyGuru, or put a limit on Him, or get just a bit of understanding, or just how great He is? And Maharaj says, Bahota kahiya, bahota hoye. So, bahota kahiya first. So, Maharaj is saying to utter or kahiya means to say, however great or however high you say Maharaj is, bahota hoye. They're only even greater and higher than that. So that's a bit of a tongue twister or hard to explain, but there's this analogy to explain it a little better. So like a bird, if a bird flies for the first time and it reaches quite high in the sky, and it might think, oh wow, I'm quite high here. But then it reaches maybe the clouds. I don't know how high birds can fly, but it reaches a point in the ether, in the sky, and then you think, hang on, this is quite high, but I can go even further. So then the bird flies even higher, even further. And then he thinks, hang on, this is nothing. I can go even further. In the same way, WhyGuru Ji and their limitless, their infiniteness works in the same way. If you find it hard to relate to birds, the example that then came to my mind is, the first time you get on a plane. And when I was young, I thought, the clouds, that's the summit. You can't get higher than the clouds. But then when you're in the plane, you go above the clouds and you realize, hang on, we're above the clouds here. I thought we were really high, but you can go even higher. Maharaj is saying to the Siddhs in the same way, Bahota kahiya, bahota hoye. However high you try to explain Maharaj is, you'll realize that they're even higher than that. They're even greater than that, whatever you initially thought. So that's why you can't put any limit on them, or it's hard to put any limit on them, because however much you try, you won't be able to do it justice. You'll just be doing a disservice to how great and how infinite or limitless WhyGuru Ji is. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, Vadda Sahib Ucha Thao. So Vadda Sahib, WhyGuru is the true master. They are the greatest master. And then Ucha Thao, their place where they reside, that is the highest too. Where they reside, where they stay, that is highest as well. So where is Maharaj's Thao then? Where does Maharaj reside? So spiritually, Maharaj is in Sachkhand, right? But we're blessed because how do we see WhyGuru? The Jyot, the embodiment of WhyGuru is here in each Gurdwara you attend. We're here now with Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, the Jyot of all 10 Gurus. And the Thao, Maharaj's place where they reside, Sachkhand, we're also very lucky because spiritually it might be quite hard to obtain, but it is possible. But in this world, physically, we're able to reach that place, we're able to join that place, because Maharaj describes that Thao, Sachkhand, in this world is within the Sadhu Sangat, within the Gurdwara. Each Gurdwara that you attend, when you're sitting in Sangat, when Guru Granth Sahib Ji is present, you are amongst the King of Kings. So when we're singing, when we're reciting the praise of WhyGuru, when we're singing Gur Mantar, Mool Mantar, that is Sachkhand. And then Uche Uppar Ucha Now. So again, you're going to have to pay attention. So Uche refers to highest. Who is highest? WhyGuru. But Maharaj is saying that even higher than the Guru is Now, the name. The name is even above the Guru. So Uche refers to Guruji, whichever Guru was in physical manifestation. But even above them is the name. And there's a couple sakhis or a couple analogies that help us explain that. So if you wanted to climb a 2-story house, you would need a ladder that's higher than the house, right? or at least be at the same level as the house. So in the same way, Naam, now, Uche Uppar Ucha now, to obtain the highest point, to obtain WhyGuru, to obtain where they reside in Sachkhand, we need a ladder that helps us reach that highest point. And we need a ladder that's even higher than that highest point. So like here, you need a ladder that's higher than the house. For us to get to Sachkhand, we need the Naam to join us to the Guru. So what does that mean for us? Each step, what is taking a step on that ladder then for us? It would be reciting Gurbani, right? Whether that's in the form of Gur Mantar, blessed to us by the Panj Pyare when we're blessed with Amrit, or Mool Mantar, or the Bayant Bani that is in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, reciting those prayers, reading Bani, doing Mool Mantar, those things, that is like taking a step on the ladder. And the more we do, the more we recite, the more we sing his praises, then we can reach that Ucha Thau. We can reach that higher place. And that point, it might, because when I first heard it, it might be hard to imagine, but there's Sakhis in our history where the Gurus have shown this themselves, that the Naam, the name, is even higher than them. So in the times of Sri Guru Arjan Dev Ji, they showed this to us, they illustrated this to us, that the Naam is even higher than them. So when Guru Arjan Dev Ji went to collect Pothia, they went to collect writings of Gurbani from both Baba Mohan Ji, who was the son of Guru Amar Das Ji, and Pai Datu Ji, who was the son of Guru Angad Dev Ji. They went to Sri Govindwal Sahib and they collected these Pothia, these writings of Gurbani. And when Guru Arjan Dev Ji went to the house of Baba Mohan Ji, which was in Govindwal Sahib, they collected the Pothia and they took the Pothia all the way from Sri Govindwal Sahib to Amritsar, which is about 50-60 kilometers. And when they collected those Pothia, those writings of Gurbani, the Singhs that were with Guru Arjan Dev Ji, they got a manji. And what would usually happen is that the Guru would sit on that takhta, they would sit on that throne. But Guru Arjan Dev Ji told the Sikhs that I'm not going to sit on this takht. Instead, they placed a Ramallah Sahib, they put the Pothia on that manji Sahib, they placed a Chandoa Sahib above, a Singh was doing Chor Sahib Seva, and barefooted, all the Singhs alongside Guru Arjan Dev Ji, they took the Pothia from Sri Govindwal Sahib to Sri Amritsar Sahib. So why am I telling you this? What is the teaching there then? So this was when Guru Arjan Dev Ji was preparing Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. But this shows that any form of Bani, whatever it's written on, whether it's in Gutke Sahib or on a piece of paper, the utmost satkar needs to be shown to Gurbani. Uche Uppar Ucha now. So Uche, Guru Arjan Dev Ji was Uche. He was the highest. Who was higher than Guru Arjan Dev Ji? But they showed that the Naam, because this is the teaching for us, that Naam is even higher than them. They didn't sit on the manji. They placed the writings, the Pothia, on the manji. And then when they reached Sri Amritsar Sahib, and they were writing they were compiling Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So in Akal Takht, where like Sukhasan happens, Guru Arjan Dev Ji, when they were compiling Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, the Singhs then placed a manji in the room and they told Guru Arjan Dev Ji to sit down, lie down on the manji. But again, Guru Arjan Dev Ji showed us, they said, no, I'm not gonna lie down on that. That manji, that's for the Gurbani, that's for the Pothiyan. And then the Singhs said, Chalo Maharaj Sat Bachan, what we'll do is then we'll make another manji a bit lower than the Bani then. Or first, actually, no, we'll place one that's barabar, on the same level. And Maharaj said, no. Then the Singh said, Chalo, we'll put one that's lower than where the Pothiya will be on the manji Sahib. And Maharaj said, no again. Maharaj said, just give me a chadar. Maharaj laid on the floor, and the Pothiya, where the first compilations of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji were being compiled, those stayed on the manji. So even for us, for now, modern day, people doing destination weddings, no satkar for Guru Sahib. We enter the darbar. Do we have that fear for Maharaj? Do we show that respect that Sri Guru Arjan Dev Ji did? Because that's what we need to aspire to. That's the teachings that we need to take. Uche upar, ucha now. Maybe we've lost that because in this day and age, maybe we've become more detari, we've become more attached to the body. But the Guru, Tan Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, their jyot, their manifestation is here with us right now. Next Pankti, Maharaj says, Evad ucha hova koi. So Evad can just mean inna vadda. However much, however great, however big Maharaj is, Evad ucha hova koi. However great, however much ucha WhyGuru is, if there is anyone who is as great as that, tis uche ko jana soe. So only someone who's on that level, only someone who is as great as WhyGuru is, only they jana, only they know how great WhyGuru is. So because no one is on that level, that means that no one is able to comprehend how great WhyGuru is, and no one's able to put a limit on WhyGuru, because they are infinite and limitless. And the final two Panktiyan, Maharaj says, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Jevad aap jana aap aap. So Jevad can just mean like Jinnah Vadda, however big. Again, same, however much. So Jevad aap, however much, however great he himself is, Jane aap aap, only he himself knows. So quite simply, however great WhyGuru Ji is, only he himself knows. And then Maharaj blesses us in the final Pankti with the teaching, Nanak nadri karmi dad. Because the Siddhs asked before these two Pankti and at the start of the body, how do we then obtain WhyGuru? How do we obtain WhyGuru and get to know Maharaj's limits? And how do we even reach that level of that stage of Brahmgyan? And Maharaj says, Nanak nadri karmi dad. Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji states, so nadar means glimpse, karmi dad. That's only with their blessings or by getting a glimpse of WhyGuru Ji's darshan that you are able to obtain WhyGuru. So just a Sakhi to end on. So relating back to that Pankti of Uche Uppar, Ucha now. That WhyGuru Ji is the highest, God, Guru is the highest, but even higher than him is the name. And it is the name that allows us to go back to where we came from. So in the times of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, there was a time where they were sat in their darbar. And Narad Muni, who is the son of Brahma, came to meet Guru Gobind Singh Ji because they had the thirst to get Guru Gobind Singh Ji's darshan. So Narad Muni came to the darbar, he bowed to Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and when he was leaving, he offered peta, he offered a offering to Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And the offering he gave was a feather, and it was from a famous bird known as the Hamayan. And Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji was very pleased when Narad Muni gave this flower, when he offered this as peta. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji said, this feather that you've given is really hard to obtain. How did you get this? And for what reason have you given this? And Narad Muni said, I just wanted a glimpse, I just wanted your nadar, I just wanted to get your darshan. I was sitting in the heavens and I had that thirst to get your darshan. And like when we do peta, if it's not monetary, I remember a Gursikh telling me, if he, at a time when he wasn't working, if he didn't have money to give Maharaj when he do matha tek, he'd pick out a flower or a petal, or is a petal? Yeah. He'd offer a flower and give that as peta to Maharaj. And in the same way, there Maryada, Narad Muni said, I wanted to give you something as peta, I wanted to give you something to offer, but I didn't just want it to be something of value, I wanted it to be something that you would love as well. Something that would be, jira to sivi khosh hoge. And Narad Muni knew, he said, I know that you're a great warrior. And I got these feathers so that you can attach these feathers to your arrows, and then when you shoot your bow and arrow, these feathers will go alongside. So when Narad Muni left, the Gursikhs with Guru Gobind Singh Ji asked Guru Gobind Singh Ji, who was that? And Guru Gobind Singh Ji replied, that was Narad Muni, he is the son of Brahma. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji gave the hukum to his Gursikhs. He passed them his bow and arrow, and he gave them the feathers that Narad Muni had given. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji instructed the Gursikhs to take this to a craftsman or a specialist to attach those feathers to their 3 or 4 arrows. And that's what the Gursikhs done. The Gursikhs accepted the button. They went, they got the feathers attached to those arrows and brought them back to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Now what Guru Gobind Singh Ji did was, once the feathers were attached to arrows, they fired 4 arrows, one at a time. And they told the Gursikhs, they said, I want you to pay attention to where these arrows are going to land. I'm going to shoot them in the air. I want you to pay attention to these arrows and follow them, so that then you can retrieve the feathers and bring it back to me. So they fired 1, they fired 2, they fired 3, they fired 4. And they instructed the Gursikhs to go and retrieve the feathers, and what they guesstimated where the arrows would have landed. But they couldn't find the arrow. So they returned back to Guru Gobind Singh Ji and said, Maharaj, we looked everywhere, but those 4 arrows that you fired, we can't seem to find them anywhere. And Maharaj said, look, I shot them in the air. They couldn't have, got stuck in the sky. They must have come down. So Tusi Feraj, I'll go again and find the arrows and find the feathers that were attached to them. So the Gursikhs went again, and it's written that they went for 3 hours searching for the feathers. And they came back again and said, Maharaj Binti, sorry, we don't know what's going on, what this kid is. We've looked everywhere. We can't find these arrows, and we can't find the feathers that was attached to them. And Maharaj explained that like us, if we recite the name, we go back to where we came from. We go back to Sachkhand. We reach that Ucha Tha, we reach that higher place, and we merge back with WhyGuru. In the same way, because those feathers had come from the heavens, those feathers, they went back to their home. So they went back where they came from. And the teaching, what we're meant to get from this Sakhi, this analogy, is that like those feathers went back to where they came from, by reciting the name, by reciting in the form of Gur Mantar, Mool Mantar, when we're blessed with Amrit, the contract we signed, Satbani, our Nitnem that we read every day, by doing that, by sitting in the Sadh Sangat, that's how we can reach that Ucha Tha, and we can submerge back with WhyGuru. So just to recap this week's talk. So the key theme was, can we find the limits of WhyGuru? The Siddhs asked various questions, trying to find limits of WhyGuru, or find whether WhyGuru's nature is infinite, whether that's in their creation, what they do, their actions, etc. We answered the question of, can we understand WhyGuru's motives, what they do, kya man mant, what WhyGuruji does? Are we able to put a limit or understand what they do and the decisions that they make? And then how do we take steps on the ladder? If we've used that ladder analogy, that Naam is like the ladder that takes us back to that higher place, how do we take steps and reach that higher place? And then finally, how do we obtain WhyGuru? How do we answer that question that the Siddhs kept asking, of being able to obtain WhyGuru and submerge back with the One? So during this talk, I've made many mistakes. Please bless me. I'm, just learning, trying my best alongside the other 3 speakers. Bless us with your sisa, that we can continue learning the teachings of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Bless to us in Sri Japji Sahib, and we can share them with you, and we can also, myself included, live this path of Sikhi, take those steps on that ladder, recite Bani and sing the praises of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. इतनी बेनतियां प्रवान करने देहो सज्जन असीसरिया जो होवे साहिब स्यो मेल वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह. Any questions regarding the Pauri or anything else? I know there's a lot of words and no limit to the praises, etc. But any questions? Anything needing clarification? Hanji Baji. I guess in essence, yeah. So sorry, Baji, what was your name again? Tanvir Baji asked that the Paudiya that we've gone through, we're quite often talking about Guru Nanak Dev Ji and their discussions or their conversations with the Siddhs. And he asked, is it a big story then? In essence, yeah, you can say. So the whole of Sri Japji Sahib, all the Paudiya, in the translations that are done, so it's really cool. There's two main translations that are given in the Steek. So one is the translations of Bani, Gurbani given when Guru Nanak Dev Ji is having conversations with the Siddhs, but there's also slightly different arts given when Guru Angad Dev Ji, when the Sikhs of Guru Angad Dev Ji asked Maharaj, Guru Angad Dev Ji, to give them the teachings of Sri Japji Sahib. So yes, in answer to your question, it is like one big story, but we can't put a limit on the translations of this story either, because there's so much more translations in depth that are given. Antana Vekhana Sonana Ant. The deeper we look, the more we look, the deeper the teachings and the translations and the understandings are. Is that alright? Cool. Hukum Singh. 5 elements: fire, air, water, earth. Yeah, earth and ether, yeah. So those are the 5 elements. The point there was that commonly most things are made out of the 5 elements, but you Antana, Japa, Kita, Akar, you can't put a limit to their creation and what they've created, because if you just say everything's created with 5 elements, that's not the case either, because there are certain things that are made with less elements of that than that. So there's no limit to Maharaj's creation and the creator. Hanji Mataji. It's above my pay grade, and he said it, so he can answer.
I thought I was going to get a break today. My back hurts and everything. Didn't you ask this question, similar question like two, 3 weeks ago about this stuff? About the 3 worlds. What's the question exactly? Ooh, 3 worlds, spooky. Hanji. So what are the 3 worlds? So race, that's the question. Tin Lok is another name given to it. We talked about before, it's the Martha Lok, which is this world. Patal Lok is the low worlds, and Akash Lok are the higher worlds. Right? So we spoke about them already, right? So Hanji, it's the different, that's just a very simple, and there's many Martha Lok, there's many planets that on this level, there's many planets and realms on a higher level and the lower level as well. The 2 weeks ago, Patal, Lakh, Agas, Hanji. ठीक है जी. Anybody else? Any more questions for Gobind Singh? So I can sit back down. Hanji Baji. Is for Gobind Singh? Oh, and the Nishan side. Ooh, that's a good question. Hanji. Okay, so Vijay's question is that when he looks at Parat and the Nishan Sahibs, they look different. Is that the general gist of what you're saying? Different color, Hanji. So the different color mainly being a blue color, which you'll find, and you can say the Nishani, the emblem that's on there, is generally of a Kirtan, the use of a tal, which is a shield. So you have a sword and a shield, and I think also, remember correctly, like a katar as well, which is like a punch dagger. So that is the Puratan. You could say, like, if you look at like old paintings of our gurus and like the soldiers, they'll be carrying these kind of nishanis, right? In the olden days. So in terms of the nishan sahibs, generally you find that Puratan nishan sahibs were blue, yellow, and in some cases you find white nishan sahibs as well. I guess today you'll see like more kesari, this kind of like an orange kind of color that has come about, and you'll see the khanda as well. So I guess just over the years that has happened. In terms of what happened specifically, I can't remember, for being honest with you. Can find out for you, but if anybody knows, please feel free to jump in. But that is at the Puratan, like you said, the I don't know how you say Puratan in English, like just the old style of the Nishan Sahib. So that is what it used to be. And you even see around it, I don't know if they have it anymore, but a lot of the young Nahang Singhs, they put them all up in the car park and stuff. So you see little Nishan Sahibs of those as well. Was there a specific question for that? VG's question is that are we watering down a religion if we're not, or this faith if we're not going back to that? In one respect, I can understand what you're saying, but I'd say if you just look on a surface level, not really, because the Nishan Sahib still stands for what the Nishan Sahib is, right? Which is if anybody sees in the Nishan Sahib, they know that they can come in, they can get dig, right? They'll come in, they can be fed, and they'll be protected. Do you understand? So obviously I appreciate what's on there, that's Puratan, but I'm putting that to one side for a second. What does the Nishan Sahib, what does it stand for? Do you get what I'm trying to say, what the right word is for that? It means that whenever somebody sees that, they can be protected, they can be supported, right? So it's not just you come here, you have some nice food, some nice Indian food, right, and listen to some nice Kirtan. It meant much more than that. I think in today's world, in most cases, we live in a privileged world, in terms of like, you know, a lot of things are given to us, even in terms of food and stuff. If you go back, you know, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, imagine living in India and you need to be kept safe, and you see a Nishan Sahib and you're in danger, you could go to that Nishan Sahib and know that you'd be protected, because there'll be people there that are, you know, that live by that flag. It's more than a flag, and they will basically do what the Nishan Sahib represents. They'll feed you, right, and they'll protect you, right. So I feel like it's not watered down. I say that maybe we're just watered down. Does that make sense? We've watered down our Sikhi, that now when somebody comes to Godara, they probably won't get protection. I'll say that in respect that it'll be like, we can't help you, go back outside. If you got mental illness or you're alcoholic, come to the Godara. I'm generalizing. Generally, you won't get much help, right? There's some Gurudwaras that do great work. There's one Gurudwara Sahib in Slough that did amazing work on this, but I think they kicked them out, right? And it was a Bibi, she's doing full-time, she's like a mental health coach at the Gurudwara Sahib, but they got rid of her. Politics, committee, right? Not going to go into it. Don't even know much of it. But do you understand what I'm trying to say? The Nishan Sahib is the Nishan Sahib, but what's happening inside the building where the Nishan Sahib is? That's the question that we have to look at. I really feel like, right? Are we providing those services for people, and so on? So that's what I'd say. Hanji Baji. That's a good. So Ruji's question is basically that when we die, fortunately we're gonna go one day. What's gonna happen? Like, there's all these different animals, and how long does it take? Right? Simple answer is bare long. Right? It's take forever. Right? So I remember reading, well, I heard it actually in a video. It comes in a Farid Kot Tika. Farid Kot Tika is the first ever translations of Guru Granth Sahib Ji that were ever done, and they were done in Hindi. And it says in there, on average, it takes about 4.6, if I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I had this, let's just say over 4 billion years it takes for somebody to go through that cycle, on average, right? Bare long, right? So it's a good question, but it's not a very important question. Because any question about reincarnation, life and death, what's going to happen, it's not that important. What's important is the present moment. You got a human life, Your breath is in the core of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, so don't waste it. ठीक है? Hopefully you don't have to worry about that. No 4 billion years. One of the life forms is a patthar, a stone. Imagine coming back as a stone. That must be boring, right? I was going like a rock. So meant to make a joke. Or like the Rock, you know, wrestler, movie actor of Besti Hogi, right? So come back as a tree, right? So if you look in it's called Mahan Kosh. It's like the dictionary, the encyclopedia of Sikhi, right? And it'll tell you in there, it splits it up. How many of those are animals? So like, you know, marine life, on land and so on. So it gets very complicated. It's 8.4 million. Then in those 8.4 million, it gets more like, you know, intricate. But we don't have to worry about that. Just Naam Japo, right? Just gain Mukti and then help a brother out. Tika? Anything else? Tika ji. Oh no. Hanji. 2 questions. Okay, what is a tika, right? And we're not talking about those kind of tika, yeah? A tika very simply is a commentary. So we have steaks and tika, we have different commentaries of Gurbani, right? So Farid called tika is very simply is commentary, translations of Gurbani, right? So that happened many years ago. Now we have many different steaks and tika, basically different commentaries and translations of Guru Granth Sahib Ji in Punjabi. You'll find some in English. The ones in English are not great, but they don't do a bad job, right? They don't do a bad job. When you see yourself on the screen, you'll see a shabad, and you can understand, oh, I understand how you got from there to that. But in some cases, like, what does this even mean? Tika? That was a bad joke. Did you guys say it? I said Tika, he goes Tika. Did you get it? That was a joke. Okay, Hanji. That was good though. That's my kind of joke. Hanji. Any updates on the hike? So Viji's question is, the updates on the hike. What updates would you like? You wasn't in the last meeting, so you know, someone just plugs it in for you. So it's on the 12th of August. What we're doing a hike. Right? So we're going to be walking from start to end. There'll be Kirtan in between. There'll be some talks in between. And the main reason we're doing it is, again, to hold the Sangha together and to raise funds for the seva that we're doing as well. Tika? Tika? Hanji. That's good. We should make a t-shirt or something. Hanji. Oh, what a question. Did anybody ever make it to Sachkhand before Guru Nanak Dev Ji? Now, let me think about this. There's not much to think about. The question is wrong. That's your answer. Does that make sense? Did anybody make it to Sachkhand before Guru Nanak Dev Ji? Who is Guru Nanak Dev Ji? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Guru Nanak Dev Ji is Parameshwar. So when we say Guru Nanak Dev Ji is WhyGuru, we went through this 2 weeks ago. There's no difference. There's so many quotes in Gurbani. Guru Nanak Dev, Gobind Roop. Guru Nanak Dev, Gobind Roop is the form of God. So to say somebody got there before Guru Nanak Dev Ji, there's nothing before Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Ad such, Jugad such, hai, pi such, Nanak Khosi be such. There's only Guru Nanak Dev Ji. There's nobody else. Does that make sense? So a lot of times, just to say, like, when people ask, it's a great question. A lot of times when people ask questions, it's even for the speakers as well. Sometimes you can get stuck and answer the question, but the reason why we can't answer is because the question in itself is a faulty question. Because there's no one before. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is everything. Guru Nanak Dev Ji isn't just, you know, somebody came on this earth for 70 years or 73 years or how many years it is and spoke about God. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is WhyGuru Ji came upon this earth in a physical form. Aap Narayan Kalatar Jagmeh Paravariyo. These are all quotations of Gurbani. The Aap Narayan Kalatar. God themselves came. Right? Santa ke karaj Aap Kholoya. To resolve the affairs of the saints. Aap Kholoya. God themselves stood up. God didn't send nobody else. Guru Gobind Singh Ji writes this in their own writings. They sent everybody, and everybody did not complete the mission. So why Guruji came themselves? Good analogy. You only ask somebody to go find something, and they can't find it. I'll go myself. I'll do it myself. Why Guruji said many people, but then they came themselves. There's nobody before Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is everything. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is why Guruji. Fact. Tika? Tika. Anyone else? Want to check a spanner? Hanji. So the question here is that we know that Guru Nanak Dev Ji traveled the world, but did they speak any other languages? Do we have any writing that demonstrates that? First we have Gurbani. Yes. Well, there's in Rome, the Vatican, Guru Nanak Dev Ji went there. There was some, you can just Google it, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Rome, Vatican, you'll find something there of when they speak about a great saint that came and they spoke to the Pope. Even if you look at Nepal and areas like China and stuff, there's caves that have like on the walls it has like the moon mantra written there and stuff. So what do you call the sampradaya? The Odasi. So like we have the Udasis, they're like from Baba Siri Chandji's Guru Nanak Dev Ji's son. So like a lot of the Udasis and Nirmale, these are like different sects within Sikhi, right? That shoot off, but they're still Sikhs, right? But they would preserve a lot of our Sikhi, right? But what's happened unfortunately today is that if you who's been to India here? Hands up. Just get some interaction. Right? A few hands just went like this. Who's been to India? Who's been to India many times? Who has seen the difference of India 15 years ago and 1 year ago? It's crazy, right? How much India has changed. Just look at the Gurdwara Sahibs. If you went to a Gurdwara Sahib 15, 20 years ago, it looked, I used to word loosely, run down. It looked like the Gurdwara would have been 100 years ago, 200 years ago. You look at it now, it looks really nice. And it looks like every other Gurdwara Sahib you probably go to. Because what have they done? They've knocked down the old Puratan Asthan and they built again with nice marble and stuff, right? So we're losing a lot of our history. And this could be happening throughout the whole world. So if you go to Pakistan, for example, in Pakistan, a lot of our good asthans are not touched for like 200, 300 years. And the things you'll find there like jewels. Why? But what's unfortunately happened in India is that they've all been taken over, obviously under SGPC, and then what happens? Just break them down and rebuild them, right? So there's still a lot of stuff out there probably of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Guru Nanak Dev Ji travelled, really far, right? All across, even we were listening to Katha, Siddhi Nand Prakash Katha, they went to Ethiopia and they Parchar there, right? So all these countries going into like Africa and stuff, Guru Nanak Dev Ji went there, they Parchar. It's written in our history, just we haven't read it ourselves, right? So Guru Nanak Dev Ji went to all these places, right? So yeah, there's definitely a lot of this stuff out there. It's just there was this great, I'll try and find a link for it next week, for Guru Nanak Dev Ji's 550th Prakash Purab. One of the Guru Sikhs actually went around and found a lot of this stuff as well. So I'm sure he made a documentary on it as well on Guru Nanak Dev Ji. So that is just type on Google Guru Nanak Dev Ji documentary, it might come up as well. And people that actually put time and energy into it and made a whole series out of it as well. Okie dokie. They do second Ardas. ठीक है जी, they're going to do second Ardas downstairs. So we'll do a short Ardas here, a small prayer to the Guru, and then we're going to accompany Guru Sahib Ji down to Sachkhand. So please everybody, let's all stand, and also please go with Guru Sahib Ji Sachkhand.